So congratulations, you finally got the investment going. You're putting money in a regular basis. But what are you going to do within a reinvestment strategy? What is your ultimate goal and things that you need to focus on? Today's video, we're going to be breaking this down in a couple key points to really the reinvestment strategy and a couple different ways to look at this as you are getting dividends, as you are getting growth to really make the most of it. Number one, we talk about the dividend reinvestment. Consider automatically reinvesting all of the earned dividends into the same investment, or you can actually utilize that to purchase additional shares of other ones. This strategy will accelerate the growth over time, meaning that if you have a share that is paying dividends, let's say you're buying the VOO, the dividends on that one are very low. Every time that I do get a dividend repayment, it is reinvested back into that portfolio. It might not go directly into the VOO because of the dynamic or the breakout of the portfolio, but anytime dividends are there, it is reinvested back into more assets. This, of course, is going to give us the eighth number of the world that we've talked about before. It is the compounding interest. So not only am I putting contributions into my investment account every 2 weeks, which is growing at an exponential rate, when I'm getting dividends, they are getting reinvested, allowing me to buy more shares. And also when I'm growing that investment itself, as it's growing over time, I am getting more shares on top of, again, contributions, more shares, dividends, more shares. This can exponentially grow your investment faster than you can ever imagine, guys. Leveraging the power of compounding interest, reinvesting both the principal and any returns that you get from your stocks. It allows it to generate additional income over time, which you're going to utilize eventually, maybe, hopefully. I'm thinking that with some of the money that we do have invested, it could be money that is going to be passed down generational wealth or building out a stock portfolio where it's going to be the point it generates enough income on a regular basis that you never have to touch the initial principal because you have more than enough to take off of the compounding interest. So you think about it, if you have $1 million stock portfolio, you're yielding 5% every year. You can take $50,000 off of that every single year. Using that $50,000, you could buy more, you could buy other things, you could invest in elsewhere, but you would still have the $1 million that you originally started with, depending on what the investment is. Now, again, if you grow this, let's say we leave our 50,000 in there. Now you got $1,050,000. Now it's going to grow a little bit more than that 50K the following year if you're staying at that 5%. The compounding will continue from there, guys, which is kind of crazy. Now you leave that in there for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. All of a sudden you have a crazy amount of income just from that compounding interest. Number three, we look at the diversification. When using a diverse portfolio, which we talked about in our last video, reinvesting funds can be allocated into different asset classes or even different sectors. Now this, of course, you take the dividends out. When you receive the dividends, you reinvest them into something else, whether it is another sector, if it is another aspect. Let's say you have money in the stock market and you're putting all your dividends into bonds. You have your investments there, and then you're using some of it for REITs. You're using some of it for, fine art through Masterwork. There could be a plethora of ways that you could use the dividends that you're getting, not only just to reinvest, guys, but you could look at other avenues that you can use the money. With that comes the tax investment or the efficiency reinvestment strategy, guys. Utilizing tax efficiency, which talk to your tax advisor 100%. You can reinvest a lot of it for tax advantaged accounts. This is the reason, again, why I focus on the Roth 401ks, the Roth IRAs, is if you're keeping the money in there, it will grow tax-free. When you take the money out in the future, it will be tax-free. That is the big thing, guys. When you're taking money out of a regular 401k or traditional Roth, you're getting the benefit up front to pay taxes later. Well, if you compound again 20, 30, 40 years of growth on that compounding return, when you take out, now you're getting taxed on everything you had in there. Number five, emergency fund contributions. If your investment portfolio does pay out, guys, this could be the ability to build an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of savings, or replenish an emergency fund if you need to. So essentially taking some of the dividends, reallocating it to another thing, like to cover an unexpected expense or safety net, whatever you have going on, guys, to really fund the things you want to do in life. Number six, huge one, debt repayment. You should not be investing, guys, if you do not have a debt repayment plan. My personal opinion, similar to what Dave Ramsey teaches, debt should be the priority number one. There's not a place, not very many places at all, that you are going to get a higher return than carrying debt. When you look at auto loans, even 6.5%, 7% currently, When you look at a lot of equity lines, they're about 9%, unsecured debt, 9% plus. Even when you look at credit cards, 20, 22, 24%, you're not going to find these kinds of return, guys. Once you pay down that debt, once you pay off that debt with a debt repayment strategy, go ahead and put a lot more towards investment. All of a sudden, if you don't have debt, you have a lot of money to invest, and the compounding can come a lot quicker. Number 7, we look at the opportunistic investments. This is looking at anything that is undervalued, taking advantage of the market downturn. If you look at 2022, we were down about 20+% in a lot of the portfolios, which means if you had money on the sidelines, if you were sitting in cash, or if you're sitting in other assets, it would be an amazing buying opportunity. Personally, I do the dollar cost averaging, which means every 2 weeks I do invest in the stock market. With that investment, I literally drove and bought the stock market the entire time that it went down. Then when it rebounded into 2023, dollar cost averaging worked for me incredibly well because I seen a lot of gains for everything that I bought while the market was going down, and even all the gains that I seen when I bought at the very bottom of the market in 2022. Works incredibly well, guys. It pulled me up about 30+% this year, just utilizing the dollar cost averaging. Number 8, we get into the education and skill development. It is really investing in education, investing in yourself will always pay dividends, guys, which it will be incredible. So even if you take some of the dividends from the reinvestment or the investment portfolio, personal, professional development will increase your potential earning and your financial well-being. The more time and effort that you spend in the financial education, financial literacy, the better that you will be making smart decisions when it comes to investing, when it comes to borrowing, when it comes to finances altogether. You have to make sure, guys, that that piece is built in. The education piece is there fundamentally. If you start investing, guys, start with 10 bucks, 50 bucks, 100 bucks. It's not a place you're going to start putting thousands of dollars in until you have a really sound strategy. Sit down with someone, review it, make sure it is the best option. The next one we look at, guys, is systematic investing. This is really what I talk about when it comes to dollar cost averaging. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. A lot of people will sit money on the sideline till the market drops, and then they'll go ahead and put that in. Dollar cost averaging, of course, is the regular reinvestment of a fixed amount every single time. You could even look at this a little bit differently, meaning that you could do value investing, you could do dollar cost averaging, you could do a ton of different ways. So let's say, for instance, you have $200 that you invest every 2 weeks into the stock market. You're going to cut that in half, do $100 every single time that you get paid. So instead of putting the 2, you're only putting the 1. Your other 100 is sidelined from the pay. Your dollar cost averaging into every position with your $100 that you're putting in there. But then when you see a drop in the market, you will have money set aside in a savings account that you can actually look at the value cost and buy a bigger bulk majority. Instead of dollar cost averaging in, you could actually do both. But again, the time and effort that it takes to figure out what strategy you're using, that is the reason why I do simplify. That's the reason I stay with ETFs. That's the reason why I stay just with dollar cost averaging, because you can split it 50 different ways, guys, and it becomes incredibly complex if you make it complex. And the final one we look at, guys, is the retirement savings. This is the IRAs. This is the 401ks. This is any of the accounts that you're going to build up a really big portfolio and a nest egg, taking advantage of all the tax benefits, which I said again, the Roths, guys, they are the way to go. It is going to grow over your entire lifetime, completely tax-free. And you know what? When you start putting 15% into that retirement account, when you get raises in the future, when you get promotions, when you get bumps, whatever it may be, you are already going to have 15% invested. So you don't even have to alter that plan because you already know you're capped where you need to be. Guys, that'll do it for today's video. Let me know what you think about the reinvestment strategies, and I'll catch you in the next video.